Land-based game is not always about getting away from the crowds. Limited to a handful of really good locations, you keep running into the same old faces season after season. Just about everybody knows everybody, plenty of long-standing friendships are made, and newcomers are kept at arm's length until they earn their stripes. In contrast to the dull day that marked the arrival of the Marlin water, this was destined to be a hot summer's day in more ways than one. Experienced land-based game anglers are masters at interpreting the most subtle indicators of game fish activity. But today, the wave of fish life was obvious to all. One of the peculiarities of land-based game fishing is that most of the knowledge has been developed in theory rather than practice. Most fishermen, having never hooked a marlin from the rocks, haven't had the opportunity to test their tackle and techniques. But if the most valuable knowledge is gained from experience, then after this day, we were all to be a lot wiser. For once, rather than just hoping or dreaming of a chance at a marlin off the rocks, we were expecting it. Every marlin fights differently. Some fights are long and painful, some are short and sweet. With a bit of help from the guys in the boat, this one was just short. It's a shame the torpedo tubes don't work anymore. They could have been really useful today. By the next hookup, we were beginning to realise that this season on the rocks was unlike any other, not just in numbers of billfish, but also in size. Few fish were under 80 kilos and some, like this one, over the magic 100 kilo mark. Land-based game at times demands difficult choices. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. With a big fish heading around point perpendicular, do you keep the drag up or back off? Perhaps this fish would have won either way.
There's a bigger fish than the first one.
They say you can't keep a good man down, and I reckon this applies well to fishermen.
Marlin, stop it. It's going off.
Bouncing back from his last knockout, Jason didn't waste any time stretching a fresh spool of 15 kilo on another horizon-bound beakie. After some good early rod work, things looked under control, and at the half-hour mark the fish was turned and danger avoided as it was led back from the point.
Go easy, mate, go easy.
Oh, that was intense.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Right?
Thought it was going to snap you.
Tell me about it. That was drama.
But with only minutes to go in the fight, the huge marlin rolled and won its freedom. and Jason was left fishless once again. Like any addiction, land-based game fishing is all about extremes. The lows are tolerated in the anticipation of a future high. The disappointment of losing a big fish will pass quickly, but the thrill of the experience stays with you always. If someone told you they'd seen 4 big marlin hooked from the rocks in one day, you'd probably call them a liar. But when hookup number 4 did come, we had a real sense the goalposts had shifted. What started out as the quest for any marlin was fast becoming the quest for a marlin over 100 kilos, an outcome we dared not dream of before. This big marlin couldn't be bothered running out wide. It simply stood its ground and matched up to Gary in a close-range tug-of-war. With the day's total already at marlin 3, anglers nil, it took only one more swipe from a marlin bill to make the score 4-0. The learning curve was as painful as it was complete. We all needed to rethink our game plan before the next day. There's a saying that goes, the worst day fishing is better than the best day working, but sometimes not by much. The funny thing is, in a few months' time when the marlin have left us, memories of this day won't contain anything about being cold, wet, tired and hungry. And for many, overcoming these physical extremes is just one of the attractions of chasing big game fish from the rocks. We were learning very quickly that a single-minded approach was the secret to staying connected to big marlin off the rocks. Every reel must have a full load of line and every knot checked, then checked again. Big baits, big hooks and long heavy traces that would scare off anything but a big billfish were the only choice for serious contenders. Even though land-based game fishing is basically an individual challenge, when there's a big hookup, a real sense of teamwork takes over. Everyone hauls their bait in and huddles around the angler to lend moral support and, of course, to watch the main event. Even when you think you've done all your homework, there are some things you just can't prepare for. Who would have thought that after a long, hard fight and just meters from being landed, this fish was still fighting fit? unexpected power dive over the drop-off, and Nick's dreams are shattered.
You know, like first beaky, and then there's something that big. I would like to start on something smaller.
Hey, you got to start somewhere.
Something about half the size.
Unfortunately, you don't have a
first.
choice of where you start.
Hi, Mum.
That's it for you.
When there's more fishermen around than marlin, and that's nearly always, you spend endless hours doing this, trying to be the first with a bait out where the big fish are. But if the wind, current and your bait don't cooperate, then you're not even in the race. Not another blow-up toy. When it comes to marlin, some of us will try anything to get the jump on our mates.
Quickest, easiest grip you'll ever get.
Just as well the billfish had shut up shop for the day, getting a strike on the way out could have been a real letdown. Up until now, the fishing we'd experienced had been unprecedented, and it was hard to imagine that it could last any longer, let alone get better. But the best was yet to come, and in a sport where legendary days are few and far between, this day would be known forever as land-based game fishing's Big Wednesday. The day itself started out worse than most. The news of marlin being caught from the rocks had spread right through the boating fraternity, and for some reason, a misguided few believed that the marlin were magically attracted to the rocks we were fishing off. Of course, in reality, the marlin was spread right throughout the bay, with even more cruising outside the heads, and we were simply hooking them here because we couldn't go anywhere else. I guess the grass always looks greener, or the current bluer, on the other side of the fence. Rock fishermen are always trying to get their bait away from the rocks, and boat fishermen are trying their hardest to put their baits against the rocks. Thankfully, before the action started, most of the boaties remembered why they had motors and decided to leave the slow fishing to us.
Go for it, son.
There's an old rock fisherman saying that roughly goes, never take your shoes off if you've got a bait in the water. Anthony's catnap was about to turn into one of the most exciting but painful experiences of his life.
Come on! Hey! Come behind me! Come up here! You guys are dickheads? Is that a white line in, mate? Oh, gee whiz. Come here this side. Up here! Up this way!
And while Anthony does his best to avoid going barefoot skiing, another marlin takes a bait, and for a land-based first, we've got a double hookup of big marlin on our hands.
Working.
Just hit the brake. I'm gone.
See, that.
He's on the green one. He just got taken. He's got taken by another fish.
There's another Marlin out there.
Someone's gone down here.
There's right.
There's Marlin everywhere. Don't worry about it.
You've done it?
Why didn't you jerks get your minds out?
And for a while, mayhem rules, tempers flare, and friendships are strained as we all come to terms with being out of control.
That's it.
Get out of the way! You're in the way!
Oh, it should be big.
Go, David. Wind it up, just wind it.
If sport fishing is about taking on impossible odds, then this must be sport fishing in its purest form.
Come on, man, show that motion, mate. There it is.
Get your right, Dave. You better get out of the way, mate.
Hey, what a green one, man. There we go, you got. He's got the lovely going on. Oh, look at that. It's a big fish.
Hey, he's off in the boat.
We've really got to take our hats off to the guys in this boat. It takes a lot of self-control to look the other way and pretend not to notice all this going on. Things were looking up as both Marlin powered off in opposite directions.
You're fishing 15 or 24? 15.
But finding the point, Anthony's marlin proved yet again that rock beats plastic, and Dave's fish got tail wrapped and snapped his heavy leader like cotton. While Anthony contemplates starting a game from scratch, a battle with the truly massive fish we'd been waiting for was looming. It was almost as though this fish wanted Jeff to see just who he was messing with. But Jeff already knew what he was in for. Hooked up to a fish of over 120 kilos and surrounded by boats, if Jeff can't stop this marlin from running wide, it will be lost the same way as his last.
Well done.
There you go. You got to get the ball back right.
Right, get him in the thought he goes. Oh shit. Unbelievable. I can't believe it. Really scares me when it starts down. Check my mouth, bro. Anyone got some water?
When you game fish from the rocks, all you have is a rod, reel, a kilometre of flimsy thread, 2 feet very firmly planted on the ground, and hopefully a high tolerance to back pain. There's no boat to back down on a fish or keep your line belly tight, and every metre of line you lose hurts twice. Once on the way out, and even more on the way back. This fish knew the best escape route, but Jeff had other plans. With the score at Marlin 9, Anglers 1, we were looking for someone to even the tally, and just one fish of this size would do the job nicely.
That's just exactly what you want.
It took an hour of battle to get back to where he started, but in spite of appearances, this Marlin is far from ready to throw in the towel. In land-based game fishing, there are few second chances. It's a fight of attrition. Being forced to go too hard too early can mean you've got nothing left for the second half, and the fish will almost certainly win. Finding a second wind, the Marlin dives over the drop-off, leaving Jeff no alternative but to back off the drag and pray that it swims clear.
Feel a bump over the rock. Went over the bombing. The line hit the rock, got caught. So that's where we stalemate there for about 5 minutes. Just let go. That's number 2 minutes. In 1 week.
Coming so close to landing such a massive marlin was an achievement in itself, and it proved that with a little more luck, our goal of a marlin over 100 kilos from the rocks wasn't just a pipe dream. And as the last boat pulled up anchor and left fishless, we felt a sense of relief. Finally, we had a level playing field.